Good morning, everyone. Nice to see you all, or virtually see you all. Also great to see the number of people that have joined us this morning. There's 145 of you currently online on what's hopefully going to be a great day of I think we've got 16 sessions in total running throughout the day, so quite an event. So personal thanks to everyone involved in the BIM communities for organising this. This is really the warm-up session, so I've got 20 minutes just to explain BIM basics. There's clearly not enough time to go into the detail of all the nuts and bolts and bits and pieces and all great things that we're going to hear throughout the day. So I'm going to run through a series of things about BIM basics, about how to approach BIM, specifically with a UK and Ireland slant on it, but more and more as the discussions go on with international standards, it becomes a consistent way around the world of working. So very briefly, a bit about me. I'm not going to run through all of these things. I wear several different hats, depending on which day of the week it is. But today, this is me representing the UK BIM Alliance as the Vice Chair, and also as the Chair of Building Smart UK and Ireland. So what we're going to look at in this 20-minute session is the essence of what BIM is and how to take the first steps. It is such a broad topic that this is going to be really a high-level overview. So no matter who you are and what your role is within the industry, hopefully there'll be some helpful guidance to kickstart that journey and to line up the rest of the sessions for today, so people understand what they can do with their particular role and particular business. So I'm going to run through very briefly what is BIM, why you should adopt BIM, what benefits it will bring you, where you can find more information about what you need to know, and we'll be building the 8 essential steps along the way for successful BIM adoption based on what we've seen as the UK BIM Alliance and transitioning to the ISO standards and the work that I've done in the past with digital transformation. So in trying to simplify hugely a massively expansive topic, but it's very simplest, BIM is a process of defining, creating and delivering structured data and documents for the life cycle of built environment assets. And it's important that we can use these words in a way that includes as many parts of the environment, of the built environment industry as possible. Because we do still have some negativity around BIM and whether it is or isn't appropriate to various different people. But this description really does have that all-encompassing. It is absolutely relevant to everyone, whether you're a client, whether you're part of the design and construction team, whether you're a product manufacturer, whether you're owner-operator, facility manager. And this really does, or hopefully should hit home and make a connection with all of those people as part of those numerous roles that we have in our industry. And in the UK, we have the UK BIM Framework, what used to be called or referred to as BIM Level 2. The UK BIM Framework is governed by BSI, British Standards Institute, the Centre for Digital Built Britain, and the UK BIM Alliance in a tripartite agreement to promote the UK BIM Framework and looking to really govern that shift from analogue to digital and provide helpful, useful day-to-day advice for the whole industry that is relevant to the UK and Ireland, but also globally as well. We're looking to demonstrate, once we've got the transition to digital, demonstrate semi-automated and in some cases automated process in a scalable way. So they're equally relevant to small organisations as to global multinational companies. And then we're also involved and engaged in developing open, shareable standards that allow for checkable, repeatable and improvable processes. So it's all about creating, hopefully, a way of working for all people and stakeholders in the supply chain to engage with this process and make that information exchange creation and exchange throughout the ways of being much simpler and more efficient, so that we can hopefully enable new services to be provided in the future. More on that in a little while. So if you want to know any more about the UK BIM Framework, where you can find resources, the details are on the screen now. You'll have these this presentation uploaded for you to see later on as PDFs. All the links will be live in there. But please do get in touch, and any of those mechanisms just to engage with the process. If you've got any questions, there's always someone there that will answer. So the questions we often receive, why adopt BIM? And it still is a question, despite the many number of years that we've been on this journey as an industry. There are still people not quite sure as to why we should be adopting these things. And from experience, I'd say that we need to make sure people are adopting it in the right way, as the right frame of mind. And if you're an individual and you're just keen to learn certain things, then brilliant. You adopt these things because it's good for you and your personal development. Obviously, we have people in our industry working on projects, and it's good for your project. It will give you certain benefits that we'll discuss in a second. Then we look at, because it's good for our people and our projects, it's generally going to be good for the company that you work for, you represent, and that helps in turn be good for our industry as a nation. Also enables us to engage with the global industry in a much more consistent way. Technology then allows us to work on projects that might perhaps have been out of our reach originally. And it finally enables us to engage with a digital industry. If we're not working in a digital way, we can't interact with lots of other services and lots of other industry transformations that are happening in our industry and outside in other ones that are equally as influential on our industry, such as transportation, such as healthcare, such as the data of banking and fintech. So it's really important that we as an industry move towards a way of working digitally. And there are the benefits, and we need to understand that the benefits are different for different people. But as individuals, you can learn new skills. You can just be better at what you do, and better means different things to different people. But this whole process is about reducing waste, increasing transparency, enabling us to do things quicker, better, faster, and cheaper. We can add more value. We can be more efficient. We can understand the direction of the industry. So as an individual, it's really important to, when we're looking at adopting new ways of working, it's important that the individual feels that they are receiving something or beneficial for them themselves. Simply by saying we must do this because the government are asking for it, really doesn't work. It doesn't work for a lot of people. It creates resistance, and we need to get people engaged. Simply, if we're working with new skills, working with new methods, hopefully we get to go home on time, spend more time with our family. Because it's good for our project, less time, wasted time and wasted resources, increased quality, better coordination, fewer site queries, and greater project transparency. Hopefully with a view to creating consistency in operational asset data. The information that we all create goes to a combined data set that is good and in use for the life cycle of whatever the asset or facility might be. Thirdly then, it's good for the company, less wasted time and resources. Fewer site queries means potentially increased profit. Access to project insights. A lot of what people are doing now is, once they've made this step towards working digitally, means that you have access to be able to understand how projects are performing, or how you designed something last time, or what the volume of concrete or the number of steel beams, or you can have access to insights across a much greater pool of all of your projects, and working digitally allows you to do that, and then to make assumptions and calculations based on those about how you might operate in the future. And again, understanding direction of the industry as a company as well as a person. Increased efficiency is exactly what we're aiming for. Despite, and I say this all the time, despite all the conversations about collaboration, I do promote adopting BIM from a very selfish point of view. Find your place in the BIM process and make it work for you. Because once you do that, you understand that the benefits are there for you as a person, project and company. And then when someone asks you to do it and be involved in a project where everyone else is working in a similar way, you're already prepared and capable of doing and undertaking your role in that particular project. Because it's good for the nation's industry. We are forging the industry's digital direction. We've got various different governmental organisations, individual companies looking to push what our industry in the UK and Ireland can do, and then sell that globally. We've already seen evidence of that purely on the fact that our British standards and publicly available specifications that the 1192 suite have been transitioned or are being transitioned to international standards. So we're already seeing that thought leadership being spread around the world. Less wasted time and resources, increased asset lifecycle value. And again, we're talking about having that information, understanding how things are performing, plugging that or keeping that data set up to date to enable us to make data-driven decisions. Better supply chain communication and data provision. So what we're saying all through this really is about, if we're looking to create consistently structured data, the exchange of that information back and forth between various different people, different parties, is much smoother. Because it's good for the global industry. Sorry, reduce legal conflict on that one too, hopefully. Pan-global project involvement. We can engage through the various different uses of different software solutions, technology solutions, and new processes, being engaged in projects that you may not have been able to previously. Increased global interoperability, again, about consistent working to open standards. Less wasted time and resources, always good for the global industry. Reduction in carbon usage. And access to global data that will really hopefully enable us to make better decisions about how we design and how we operate in the built environment. And because it enables you to enter the digital economy, better delivery through new skills and new tools, better data-driven design solutions, potential interaction with other digital industries, as I mentioned at the start. And then new services to offer. Who knows that whether you working in a digital manner rather than in an analog way will then enable you to offer a different service as an architect, as a product supplier, as an owner operator, as a facility manager. There are lots of different roles that means that if you're engaging with or working with a digital process, you're creating information that could enable you as a company, as a person, to offer new services to your existing and new clients. So where can you find more help? This very virtual conference is a sign of that. We have UK BIM Alliance regions, and there are 19 of them around the world, around the UK and Ireland, all active on various different social media platforms, but also locally before the global health crisis, in face-to-face meetings locally for people to join and get involved, learn a bit more. And we really are there to be that local contact for you, wherever you happen to be in the UK and Ireland, to make sure you've got somewhere to go, you've got somewhere to find the resources to learn and to help with your first steps on this digital transformation. We have BIM 4 groups. If you are, once you've found your local region, you can find a BIM 4 group that deals with your specific sector. If there isn't a BIM 4 group for your particular sector, there probably will be one popping up very soon. These are popping up as and when they're needed, and they do tend to sign an agreement with the UK BIM Alliance that says we agree to promote best practice as per the UK BIM Alliance do. So there are all sorts of different BIM 4 groups. So we encourage everyone to get in touch with them, get involved, get engaged to try and learn what you need to learn to find your place. And guidance. As we said earlier, a lot of the work that the UKBIM Framework does is to create guidance for the industry. And the guidance that we've published so far, and this is only a selection of it, is there to help the industry understand how to make their first steps. And whilst these documents might be bigger than the standards themselves, they're written in a way, in plain language, to get people to understand how you might engage with this process and what it means to you as a person, a project, and a business. So they're all there to help us adopt, increase our maturity, and get to the point where we're working consistently on our projects and we've made that first step into digital transition, and hopefully then start to build new services and additional maturity as we go. So I did promise to put together 8 steps to successful BIM adoption. These are my own personal ones, and it's really, again, these are based on some things and queries that we often see being repeated in people who aren't quite sure whether to make the first step or not. First one being, don't wait for clients to ask. The reason the BIM adoption perhaps isn't as quick as it should be is because there are a lot of people waiting for clients to ask. One thing I think this global health crisis has done is shunted people into a different frame of mind when it comes to adopting different technologies and processes, and that can hopefully help people in their adoption of these new BIM processes also. Secondly, don't invent your own standards. There are standards there. Please take a look at them. Read the guidance. As I said, read the guidance probably first rather than diving straight into standards. They're there to help you, to ease you into understanding why we're doing these things and what the opportunities are and what you may have to do to change the way you work. And it's really about finding your place within those documents and within those standards. Not everything in those standards is applicable to everybody in the industry, but you'll certainly read things that are common to what you would typically do in your normal everyday role. But it's just doing them in a slightly different way, in a consistent manner, in a process that is not wasteful, and you're producing information that everyone else can consume for their various needs. So encourage you to find your place within that process first. Then address your people. And this goes very much to the slides we've seen just earlier. We need to address the people first. We can't just thrust some technology on them. And as cliched as it sounds, we really do need to take the approach of people, process, technology. If you buy a piece of software or technology and throw it at your staff, you will end up with resistance. So you need to understand the people in your practice or in your company, understand what their roles are, find out what their processes are, which is the next item. Understand what those people do typically on a project and document it. I don't think this industry is terribly good at documenting their processes, and yet we all pretty much do the same thing regularly on a project. People for some reason do it differently from one project to another individually, and then that is exacerbated when we go to other companies because they all do it slightly differently. And what we're trying to do is streamline the process for you as a company. And 9 times out of 10, it's the same process that other people go through also. And once we've got that process and we understand it, we've stripped waste out of it, we've taken a lean approach to doing these things, understanding what information you need to do that job, then we look at the technology part. So understanding what software solutions or technology solutions are out there that solve the particular problem for you in that particular task, and then applying that to whatever it is you do. The next step, number 7, is to start with a pilot. Don't expect to transform your company overnight. Start with a pilot project, apply those processes with those people, with that technology on your project, and start small, but measure the benefits and make sure you're understanding what you're achieving, what the changes were. And there will be some upskilling required. There'll be some people that are completely new to, but hopefully they will have been eased into the process. And by the next project, you'll understand that better. You can develop something else, and start to improve and increase the maturity as we go through. So those are my 8 steps for successful BIM adoption. Quite happy to be challenged on them. They're just my observations. This is the way I approach people when we're looking at transforming and changing the way they work in today's world. So getting in touch, as we said, there are lots of different ways to get in touch with the BIM Alliance, either just to find out more information about what you need to do. I mentioned the BIM regions earlier, and the communities. This is to get in touch with the UK BIM Alliance as the central point. Get in touch with anyone, whatever you feel comfortable with. Ask a question, offer to help, become a patron, whatever you happen to be. It's all there, open. The UK BIM Alliance is the industry preparing help and guidance for their peers and colleagues in the industry. So please do get involved. And as I said, this is a very brief run through of BIM basics, but you've got lots of detail coming up through the rest of the day in the other 15 sessions. So enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you very much. Over to you, Hadil.